I'd like to call a regular city commission meeting to order Monday, June 3rd. We'll start with the invocation and pledge.
Lord, thank you for the opportunity to come together to work for the good of the city of Eagle Lake. Help us to discuss the matters at hand in a reasonable way. May our time and efforts be productive and fruitful for the city and everyone impacted. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Billings.
Here.
Commissioner Meetox.
Here.
Commissioner Freeze. Here. Commissioner Peter. Here. Mayor Wilson.
Here. Does anyone in the audience have anything that's not on the agenda tonight? Step forward with your name and address.
My name is Pamela Cheney. I live at 790 North 8th Street. Last time there was a meeting held, my husband stood up here, and the only thing he asked is that code enforcement go through the neighborhood, find violations, and write them up. What he did was a retaliation. My house was one of the ones that was rode up right across the street. He has it down for high grass, high weeds, and debris in my yard. Okay? At the end, the bottom of these violations, it states, at last night's 5/6/24 City Commission Management Meeting, a complaint was filed by a resident stating that the entire neighborhood has turned into the ghetto, requesting the CEO go out and enforce the code on the books. Upon inspection of neighborhood CEO, observe property to have, and then his write-ups. I went Tuesday to City Hall and I asked them to pull the last 30 days of violations from the CEO. So from May 7th, 2024 to May 22nd, 2024, in 16 days, there was 44 reports and 66 violations. But it gets better. Every one of these violations has my husband down as the complaining party. Now, I went on the website and I looked. In order for anyone to file a complaint, you must walk into City Hall, give your name, your address, the house that has the violation, the address, and pictures. Or you can go online, same exact thing. You must give your information to file the report and any information backing it up. I never filed a report and neither did my husband. I went and spoke to him and his exact words were, your husband got up and made a complaint. Really? No. That's retaliation and intimidation. And I will not stand for it. You and I had a talk today. And we both agreed, I am not mad at Brian for doing his job. I am mad about the way he handled it and the way he conducted it. Not to mention, your office closes at 5 o'clock. Just to be sneaky, 6:10, I pulled out of my driveway. Brandy was right there. I went to Blackburns, picked up takeout, came out, and then it was in front of my mailbox. I thought your office closed at 5 o'clock. Why is he out at 10 after 6 posting in people's yards? I have them all right here. Would you like to see them? I have 64 of them that he put in my husband's name and our address. I had to go and apologize to my neighbors, just in case they got a copy of this. Because he goes home at the end of the day. We're still here across the street. And I had to apologize to my neighbors and tell them the truth that we did not make these complaints against them. He's mad because he got caught out for not doing his job. And I would love to know why he put our name on these complaints. If it's a document that goes through the system, how can he do that?
Mayor Wilson, can I speak? So I too spoke up at the last meeting, and I affirmed what your husband was saying, that I agreed. And I too got retaliation from the code enforcement officer. 7 years living here, never had a violation. My husband runs 10 cities for a private code firm for the state of Florida. He's an expert in code enforcement. You can't get higher education in code. We live in an HOA and love code enforcement. 7 years, never had a complaint. Right after I spoke up in affirming what you were saying about we need to just follow what the codes say and just clean up the neighborhoods, I got retaliation as well. And I went and I spoke with Tom, and he dismissed it. So you and I both.
Retaliation, or y'all call it whatever you want to. I got 2 of them. Ain't no big deal. Just fix what's wrong.
So I
There
did.
is nothing,
I didn't have a
Susan,
violation.
there is nothing wrong with my home. He put down house numbers, yes. Went on Amazon, I ordered them, they were up within 3 days.
I will do the same.
Overgrown grass, weeds, and debris in my yard? Come on, everybody here, Tommy, you know that. Has there ever been overgrown weeds? I'm not even allowed to touch the lawnmower because he cuts it diagonally, it's grass. But anyway, I'm not even allowed to touch the lawnmower. And for him to write that is intimidation and retaliation. And I think something needs to be done. Someone needs to look at how he can forge the name of someone else on a complaint. I would love to know that. If he didn't make a formal complaint.
So to
To
Mayor,
start with, that your complaint should go to Tom, not the commission. We have nothing to do with the employee.
We didn't make a complaint. That's the
No,
thing.
I'm saying now. I mean, sure, we're gonna sit here and listen to you, but there's absolutely nothing this commission can do.
Nothing? Well, what am I doing to the Board of Ethics then?
The person you have to speak to is
If I have
Tom.
to, if I am pushed to that, I will go to the Board of Ethics. This is wrong. To me, it is retaliation because he was called out for not doing his job. Anybody can sit there and say what he wants, but 44 violations and 66 complaints in our names, that's just wrong.
So
And you
Susie,
tell
I never made a complaint here. What I'm asking, and what she's asking, is she heated right now? Yes, she is. We're respectfully requesting that those records be rescinded and modified to the proper complaint type, which would be, I didn't make where's the pictures? Where's the addresses I gave out? Why not? Why is my name on every one of those? I don't know why. Now, I'm not backing off of my statement that I made last month. I think the neighborhood needs attention, and if there's anybody here that doesn't really like it, I'm more than willing to sit down and talk to them. I told them that on Facebook, okay? There's a lot of areas out here that, I'll be honest with you, it looks like hell. It really does. There's another one down there, it's an empty lot, 400 Fifth Street, where they used to stack up the sod pallets and all that. It looks horrible. We live in a community we want to be proud of. Not just junk laying in the yard. And Susie, I understand that you have those 2 houses down there. With all due respect, it still looks like Sanford and Son lives in that house. Okay, I'm sorry, it's the way it is. But then when you have 30 days to clean it up, you come to see the magistrate gives you an extension, nothing is done. I'm not backing off that statement. What we're asking is that those records be we're asking those records be rescinded with the proper complaint information on it.
Yeah, and as I indicated.
And I'm not afraid that my name's on it, I could care less, but it's got her torqued off right now.
Yeah, and as we
And
talked
I
about.
gotta live with her.
Yeah, and as we talked about it, I said, Brian and I are gonna get together, we'll take care of it.
Understood.
I'm sorry, the commission doesn't have.
I understand.
Doesn't have anything to do with employees. That's not.
If they come up here.
That's-
So how did it go
We can't
from
even
here
talk.
to the complaint? If the
We
commission
can't-
doesn't have anything to do
I'm
with
sorry, we
it,
can't
how
even
did I
talk
file a
about
complaint?
that stuff.
But that's the issue. You asked us as a community to come together.
Yes.
You asked us to come up here, okay? And if we have a problem, we have the issue to tell all of you and bring it to all of you, okay? It was blown way out of proportion, not to mention that this Facebook page, if you live in Eagle Lake or if you are born in Eagle Lake or something, it started as soon as they started going down 8th Street. A woman made a comment that her daughter's house got brought up for no house numbers. My neighbor, she has house numbers on her house. So you wanna hear something? Her numbers are 3.5 inches high. She was wrote up because it should be 4. This isn't cleaning up the neighborhood. This is petty. This is absolutely 100% being petty because someone was caught out, and I'll say it again, for not doing their job. Okay? Clean it up. That's it. And I just want it on the record, and then I'm done.
Yeah, well, I mean, did our city manager say he would handle it?
Yes, we talked
We talked about it, but that doesn't mean I'm still not gonna get up here and speak my
Well, I mean,
piece.
that's fine, but I mean, I just want you to understand that there's nothing we can do. The person that can do something is Tom.
Okay, but you said we, okay, I get that, but still, we as a community, come on, right is right and wrong is wrong. What was done here was retaliation and intimidation. And he's got the wrong one if he thinks he's going to intimidate me. So I am requesting, because I'm going to the ethics committee too, and I will be filing complaints, I promise you that. But this is my last statement. He falsified an official document. Okay, you either must go online and fill it out or walk inside and fill it out. And what he did is he falsified that. Really, several to be exact, 46. Okay, so I feel that something really seriously needs to be done here. If someone doesn't want to get caught out for not doing their job, well then quit or do your job. Sorry.
You're fine, honey, you're fine.
Mayor, before he speaks tonight, piggyback on what she said, I just wanted to clarify, when I went to Tom about what had been done to our home, because we didn't have any violations, it was invented, and Tom did, he did admit that it was retaliation. So that was just for us, for just confirming.
Same here.
So he did say, yeah, that's, he's just, setting precedents, or he's just, you did. You confirmed, yeah, that's what he did, that's why you said you intercepted the certified mail so I wouldn't get it, because it was unfounded. So here's the thing. I just want to go on what she's saying. So I know that he falsified documents with just our complaint, because he told my husband, when my husband had him come back, we removed the little landscaping item that he said was a fence, which it wasn't. When he came back, sorry, that's my husband, by the way, who's about to speak. He's the code professional. So Tom did, tell me, yeah, this was in retaliation. So, I mean, I don't know how more clear I could be on that, but. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
I didn't know the history as to why you did not do it. Oh, sorry. I did not know the history when he did or didn't, but I did not say, if it could have been retaliation, I didn't know, because I didn't know the story behind it. And as I told Commissioner Pina, I would get in touch with the enforcement officer and talk about it. Then I got the story behind it.
But when my husband spoke with Brian personally at our house when he did the re-inspection, he told my husband that he didn't even get out of his truck, that he just thought that he saw a violation. But if you look at the bottom of our paper, it has her husband as the complainant. That's absolutely falsifying documents.
Me?
Yeah.
Seriously?
No.
I have it right here.
Okay, so I'm done with clarifying, just so she's not just somebody who's ranting, that I can verify that it was retaliation, it was unethical. Do you have a response, Brian?
I re-listened to the commission meeting minutes, that were on YouTube, and her husband did not specify specific addresses. Statute was written to keep people from being anonymous, to prevent neighbors from just being petty, complaining on each other.
Yeah,
So where
absolutely.
did you come up with the number of documents that indicated they were making complaints by now?
I was told to go enforce
Who told you?
right here on the YouTube video, if you watched it.
We told you to use
It was
Mr.
said
Cheney's name.
that I need to go enforce all the ordinances in the books for the government.
You don't believe you have the authority as a code enforcement officer to patrol an area and enforce it without someone complaining to you?
I do, but I received the complaint here on the microphone at the stand. Okay, if they would have came to me and said there was 2 addresses, I might have been able to patrol the area. But when I'm in front of the commission and I'm told the whole area, I've got to go through, write all that up, and bring it back to you tonight.
When Mr. Cheney provided his name that night, that was because he was required to as someone speaking during the commission meeting.
And
That was a requirement. That wasn't him making a formal complaint. He did not specify addresses to you.
And
So
I have to
list
write down
him
the
on each
complaint.
of those, and to say that he's the complainant
Okay, and
is incorrect.
now, I have to list a complaint. I'm not gonna list a complaint if I don't have one. If he didn't make the complaint here, then I just,
So you're telling me that
I'm
you're
just
not
broken.
capable of driving by and observing violations,
I do it every day.
initiating them?
That's all I got done.
But that's your avoiding the question I'm asking, because you used Mr. Cheney as the reason for every
The
single
reason
complaint.
I was here and over there spending a month
Which is even worse, because it's right across from City Hall, so if we were
Spending
right
a
in City
month
Hall, we should observe that.
over in that area is because of the complaint here.
It was
Tom,
16
I would like
days
you
you
to
wrote it down.
investigate it, and I would like a report.
Yes, I will look into it and I'll give you a report.
Now, what they're complaining about is the complaint does not get listed on a violation.
You put a notice of violation sign in my front yard that it's illegal for us to remove, so you were trying to humiliate me because I spoke up at a last commission meeting.
No,
Because we
ma'am.
lived here 7 years in an HOA, and we are all pro code enforcement and would never do anything for a violation. That was retaliation, and Tom confirmed it.
Here's the code case information. Okay, on the way to inspect fences at the ranches, CEO observed what appears to be a 4-foot wooden L-shaped fence installed beside the driveway past the front facade of the residential structure. Records show no permit on file. Okay?
So you couldn't walk up to my door, knock on the door, give me a courtesy notice, have me walk you out there and examine it for yourself?
That was done after 5 o'clock because I was doing all these.
Okay, that's inaccurate.
Well,
Can I step in there? I would like to just caution the commission to the extent that there may be complaints that are filed against the city, against city staff, that we be very careful about the communications that we make on the dais. There was a directive given to Tom to investigate the situation and bring back a report to the commission. And that would probably be the best course of action to allow Tom to go through the records and perform whatever investigations and any question he needs to ask. We also need to be careful as a commission, because under the charter, the commission does not have any supervisory authority over staff. So it does all those things do need to go through the city manager and allow the city manager the opportunity to vet the situation and do whatever he deems is appropriate. And whether or not that's satisfactory to the commission is a whole different matter.
Last Tuesday is when I went and got a copy of all 46 violations. That was just on a Tuesday. So God only knows how many more there are out there with our address and name and everything. 46 as of Tuesday in 16 days. I don't even know how many there more are out there. Have you checked?
I have not, no.
So that was of Tuesday was when I went and got these. So there could be more.
So Brian says that he goes out based on a complaint. Is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing?
Sir, could you come up to the podium
yeah.
and state your name for the record?
Sorry, I don't
To make
mean
sure
to
that the clerk's
jump
able
in
to
front of
capture
you.
it on the
So,
audio.
yeah, it's Edward Cheney,
Did you catch that, Norm?
Edward Cheney.
So, yeah, Edward Cheney. So, can I direct a question to Brian? I'm not sure. So, I guess basically, you're saying that you got a complaint to go out and enforce ordinances. Isn't that something you would automatically do as part of the job? Instead, can you not put your name on it? Instead of using mine for Miss Pina's house, which I don't even know where she lives. I would never know to ask for a complaint for her. I made a general statement last month, and I stand by my statement. I'm not going to change it. Areas of the neighborhood, yes, it's starting to look like the ghetto, and I will use that statement again because that's firmly what I believe. The yards are a mess. Has nothing to do with boats, I promise. And my wife and I talked about this all week in the last 2 weeks. Listen, if there's someone who needs help, we'll volunteer to go and help clean their yards. We don't mind. But again, enforcing ordinances should not only be conducted when someone makes a complaint. That's something that's part of your job, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe I have his job duties incorrect, I'm not sure. But just my opinion, I appreciate it. Sorry.
Good evening, Bernard Tito, 119 Gerber Dairy Road. My wife is Kristen, she's the better half, and I'm just the little line, I'm the worse half. So the reason I'm here is we moved to Eagle Lake because we love this little city. It was kind of intimate, community-based and everything, and that was one of the reasons why we're originally from South Florida, and that place is chaos, so we needed to come here. And back in the day, we did live in Polk County at one time, where I was a deputy for a while, and then became the supervisor of code for Polk County, and I had the whole county. So I always valued being not customer service, but serving the community. And like my wife mentioned, I work for a major company that does governmental services. It's called Calendar Round and Associates, and I'm promoting it. And the reason I'm stating that is because I am the subject matter expert for code for the state of Florida, and I've helped establish many cities. I've done assessments of cities. I was on the Sterling Award team, so I always look for best practices. I do assessments of cities and everything. And the reason I'm sharing that with you because as a resident and my profession, as a resident, I want to offer my volunteer service to you guys. If there's anything you would like to do, I've established code departments in major cities. I have over 150,000 plus people. I helped New Orleans establish a code department there. And I've done also small communities similar to this, starting off and everything. And I like to offer, if there's anything I can do for the city, pro bono, my service, just a neighbor, helping out the neighbor, I'm here available for that. There are some things that we can do based on my experience for a community like this. I know nowadays, authority is not really law enforcement suffers from the lack of authority, code enforcement suffers from lack of authority. A lot of the commission meetings that I go to, the first subject is law enforcement, then it's fire, and then it's code enforcement. And that seems to be the trend every city that I deal with, and every commission meeting I go to. So I like to offer that as a resident of Eagle Lake. If Tom, you want to get with me, or any of the commissioners, if you have any questions, or if there's anything that I can help out to kind of do sort of like an outreach and make it more community instead of them against us, or sort of like a Gestapo type code enforcement thing. I like to be a solution. I know there's people here that in prior commission meetings that I've attended, it becomes like a complaint fest, but I want to be a sounding board to let you know that I'm here to offer any solution that I can help out when it comes to code enforcement or anything else. I've worked in community outreach before in law enforcement and code enforcement and other areas here in Polk County. I was a liaison to the neighborhood back in the day. But anything I can do to help, you can always reach out to me. And then another thing too, which Mr. Cheney talked about as well, is about if any neighbor needs help or anything like that, they can come to me and help, because I know we have some elderly people, if they get a code violation and they need help, I would like to offer to help veterans, law enforcement, prior law enforcement, elderly, anybody that's ill or anything. I have a big giant son in the back that he cuts grass really well. He can take junk out and lift stuff up and help out to clean up so that we can give back to the community. So thank you, I appreciate the time.
Hey, my name is Brian Gann. I'm at 515 North 10th Street. I don't know what all this is about today, but I just want to bring to the attention of the mayor because I can't get a hold of him. We got homeless people living in the alleyway. I got a 15-year-old daughter. My neighbor's got a 5-year-old granddaughter. I don't want them coming out the tents, looking at the things, peeing and shit with kids. I don't know what all y'all can do, but.
I can handle that. What's your address, Edward?
Oh, you already know, y'all drive through every Sunday, right past his house, just again,
What's the address?
515 North 10th Street, Eagle Lake. And another thing, you know, if his job comes available, I would love to have it. I'd be like the Grady Judge of them.
Next, staff reports.
You were first. Good evening. The last meeting, there were 6 cases brought before you, and all have been closed due to compliance by the property owners. Since the last meeting, we've had 57 new cases. A lot of them are premise identification, no address on them, 36 to be exact. One for premise identification, protective treatment, high grass, weeds, and overgrowth. One for protective treatment, one for premise ID and fence maintenance. Free building permit required for fence repair and or maintenance. One premise ID, high grass, weeds, and overgrowth. One building permit required for an accessory structure, a shed with electrical. One premise ID, high grass, weeds, overgrowth, dead tree limbs, branches, and accumulated landscape materials. One premise ID, high grass, weeds, overgrowth, protective treatment, exterior walls, windows, door frames, and dilapidated structure. One premise ID, junk, trash, and debris, RV storage, it's a boat. One premise ID, RV parking and storage for boat. One premise ID, building permit required for an above-ground pool. One premise ID, building permit required for windows and remodeling. One protective treatment, derelict vehicle, fence maintenance, junk, trash, and debris. One for premise ID, building permit required for a fence. One premise ID, high grass, weeds, overgrowth, junk, trash, and debris. One, irrigation during restricted days and times. One building permit required for signs and an accessory structure, which is a big tent. One building permit required for an accessory structure, which is a garage or carport. And one commercial vehicle parking in a residential district. We did 28 lien searches. We have 14 fence permit plan reviews, 9 fence inspections. We had 26 new home permits, 2 renovation permits, 2 accessory permits, 6 commercial permits for accessory structures, 13 miscellaneous trade permits.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, good evening. Since our last commission meeting, the sheriff's office has ran 207 calls. We've arrested 74 individuals that are made up of 110 misdemeanors and 24 felonies. 53 of those subjects were arrested for various traffic offenses. One subject was arrested for disorderly intox in open container. 4 different subjects were arrested for possession of meth and possession of drug paraphernalia, one of which violated his probation. One subject was arrested for trespassing on a construction site, possession of meth, and drug paraphernalia. 3 subjects were arrested for outstanding warrants. 1 juvenile pushed a teacher to the ground, so we arrested him for that and charged him with battery on a teacher and disrupting a school function. 1 subject was arrested for trafficking in fentanyl. He had 12.16 grams of fentanyl. We also charged him with possession of a conveyance for trafficking with a minor. There was an 18-month-old child in the car while he was doing this. He also had a firearm. When we pulled him over, he tried to throw the narcotics out the window, so we got him for tampering with evidence. He also had 25 grams of marijuana. We charged him with intent to sell, child neglect, reckless pollution because of the fentanyl, resisting without violence, and possession of drug paraphernalia. 2 other subjects were arrested for possession of marijuana and drug paraphernalia. Another subject was stopped in a stolen vehicle and charged with that and resisting without. He also had marijuana and drug paraphernalia on him. 1 subject was arrested for possession of 106 grams of marijuana. We charged him with that and intent to sell and drug paraphernalia. 2 subjects were arrested for the county ordinance soliciting in a roadway. 2 subjects were arrested for domestic violence. We had a 4-wheeler that was stolen. We recovered it shortly thereafter and found that it was sold, property, had a theft, and he also had marijuana in his pocket when we arrested him. With everything under construction, the guys have really been going out and monitoring these construction sites, and I think we've had a total, since the last commission meeting, we've arrested 3 or 4 people for trespassing in these active construction sites. So luckily it seems to be helping with any kind of material theft. It seems like when we arrest them, they have meth on them and drug paraphernalia and a bunch of other stuff too. And a lot of these guys all have burglary history, so they've really been on top of it. I appreciate all their hard work. They ran 19 warrant checks. They conducted 268 traffic stops, 20 FIRs, and just over 1,700 building checks since the last commission meeting. Does anyone have any questions or concerns?
Sounds like you had a busy month.
It's nonstop. You know, like the guys keep saying they think they're going to run out of people to arrest, but we just keep finding more. And it's not the people that live in Eagle Lake; it's the people passing through.
Yeah.
This fentanyl. That was a big deal. I don't know the exact numbers of how many people could die with exposure to fentanyl, but over 4 grams is considered trafficking, and this was just under 13 grams. So it's quite a bit. And also, too, you just stepped up before the meeting. Can you meet with me? I want to figure out where that camp is at. So.
All right. Yeah, it's right.
And that's and also for anybody, if you have problems and stuff like that with people, let me know, because there's a lot of little cells that have been developing around and I'm unaware of, and if it's brought to my attention, then as a matter of fact, I have guys going out to check that site right now. So, but if I don't know about it, there's nothing I can do.
So Deputy, is the fentanyl in Eagle, and all that information is just Eagle Lake?
That's just what we've done since the last commission meeting. That's just the Eagle Lake deputies. So.
Man, thank you.
The fentanyl is rare. We've been coming across a ton of marijuana and a ton of meth, but that's probably the biggest fentanyl bust that I've experienced since we've been in the city. And that guy wasn't from here; he's just passing through. So.
Thank you.
So that I believe that amount of fentanyl is a minimum mandatory of 7 years too. So. We should have to do a laundry.
I'm up.
You're up.
Couple quick things. A&E did have a ribbon cutting last Thursday, a week ago. Commissioner Peter was there, Commissioner Metosh, Commissioner Billings, who were all there for the ribbon cutting. And it went real well. They were really appreciative of the work the city did with them in an effort to get their buildings up and running in a timely fashion. And they needed to, because the county was on them because they want their buildings to tear them down. And so that went really well, and I think they're a great member for the community. The other thing we talked about in my report is commission seat changes. I know Attorney Maxwell had requested things shifting down this way, so we may be looking to make some seat changes at the next meeting, so everybody's aware that, you may be shifting around a bit. And if anybody has any preferences, let me know. And then we want to, carry on where everybody says it's up to you guys to let us know. I think that's about it. I put something in there for the Institute of Elected Officials that's coming up. If anybody's interested in attending, that's listed there as well. Some of the other things that in my report we'll be talking about later on in the meeting, so I'll talk about that then. That's all I have.
That's all you got?
Mm-hmm.
Old business. Discussion, consideration of red brick building, city hall complex, dock at Lake McLeod, and sidewalk around Lake Region. That's you.
Let me pull it up here. So I think there might be, correct me if I'm wrong, Dawn, there might be one hard copy down there that's with the pictures.
There's a do not remove packet on the dais, down there on the desk, and
Okay.
that will have your report there.
Okay, so, I was hoping that there would be copies, it's a really lengthy, for all the things I proposed, so I'm just going to read, so the first thing is, saving the red brick building, so I'm just gonna read it out loud so it's on the record. So, just a little, background, it's the red building, right out here. So it was built in 1926 as the first school in Eagle Lake, meets the qualifications to be deemed a historic building. The grant money is available to restore this building through the Historic Preservation Grant Program offered to our state. This building currently serves as a voting location. First floor rooms can be made into possibly an Eagle Lake History Museum honoring the people, places, and events of the past who brought businesses, homes, and life to Eagle Lake. The city of Eagle Lake turned 100 years old in 2021 with no celebration due to the pandemic. Saving the red brick schoolhouse from demolition and making it a historic site and a city museum would be a wonderful way to honor and celebrate the 100 years that the city has been here. Since there are no bathrooms upstairs, it can remain closed to the public and only the bottom floor could be utilized as a possible city museum and open to the public for special use. A boardroom could be created on the bottom floor and possibly be used by residents to rent out. Also, an idea is the Department of Children and Families could use the boardroom to offer a safe parental visitation room for court-ordered supervised visits of caseworkers, guardian ad litem, foster parents. So if we partner with DCF in this way, we promote the importance of family. The basement can be used for city storage and records. Currently, a Girl Scout troop uses this building for meetings. The architecture pays homage to the city's heritage. This would be the city's first historic building. The small old jail container on US 17 is the only historic site that our city currently offers, as I'm aware of. This building can remain a voting location for our city, and this building is beautiful and should be open for all residents to enjoy. So in my opinion, I'd like to vote now to save the red brick schoolhouse. So do I have to make a motion first? Am I the only person, is that making it clear that I'd like to vote now on that? So I'd like to make a motion on voting for this.
Clarify the motion will be to save the red brick building?
To save it, because I know that it's, right now, they're looking to demolish it.
Seeing none, fail for a second. Our city manager has some comments on the building.
Madam Mayor, Corey Fuller, 758 North 9th Street, Eagle Lake, Florida. I would like to point out that there are some inaccuracies in the information that was reported by Commissioner Peter. We did have a 100th celebration that was rather well attended. We had kind of all hands that were on deck. It included live music, fireworks, as well as demonstrations from the Sheriff's Office, Polk Fire Rescue. City staff was out, along with, I don't even know how many volunteers we had. Yeah, we had a parade with the oldest and youngest city resident. We had a number of volunteers that were out. Yeah, we had a number of volunteers that were out from the church. So we most certainly did have a 100th celebration, in addition to some of the other information that's in that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So under my understanding, I was not aware that there was one because my family was looking to come to one. So if that is accurate, then I will retract that.
Okay, with the red brick building, we did not take demolishing it lightly. We did do our due diligence. We did have an engineering company come take a look at it. I had asked the architect, in light of what happened at the last meeting, because the last meeting, take a look at it. Got the engineering report again, and in my report, it states pretty much what he felt that the cost would be to do renovations to that, because we originally looked at that building to be the potential for the new library. But then we discovered that the internal walls, or the bearing walls, and they cannot be moved or relocated, and it made it extremely difficult to use that as a library. And then he went on and indicated that, sorry, put my blind glasses on. He indicated that in order to bring the building up to code, it would be $4.8 million to do that. We would also have to, it's not adequate for a library, as he puts, we have to bring in 88 restrooms inside the building, since the other ones on the lower level were outside here, the other ones were down a flight of steps. And it would have to include a new electrical, plumbing, and fire inspection, and also would have to include a new elevator in order to make the building functioning. Steve's here as the city engineer, who's part of that review. He can kind of get into more detail if you need to know more about that.
Yeah, just a few more details. Steve Shealy with Benoni. It's been a couple of years ago, but we did do our firm did a very detailed engineering evaluation of the building. For any office use, and especially for something like a library, which has heavy books and a heavy load, you would need to support somewhere on the order of 150 pounds per square foot to be safe. That building as it exists can barely hold 40 pounds per square foot. The work that would be needed, we evaluated that, and again, that went into the budget that Tom brought up, the $4.8 million, would be restructuring every floor system from the basement all the way up, reinforcing the walls. Now, the one thing we didn't discuss in detail, and I don't think is very well encoded in that, is we also did an environmental survey of the building. It's got asbestos and it's got lead paint. Demolishing the building is a fairly, you still have to take special precautions, but there's not a lot of extra cost to deal with it other than to properly dispose of the lead containing and the asbestos containing materials. If we were to renovate the building, our environmental guy told us that we were looking at least $500,000 in mitigation costs to clean out all the asbestos, get all the lead paint off the walls and off the trim. So, that would be on top of that $5 million. And then that cost does not include the potential that we find bad studs, bad walls, bearing structures that just are not, maybe been eaten by termites and we don't know because of behind drywall or whatever. So I would take that budget with a grain of salt. It's probably going to be, if you did choose to renovate the building, it's going to be quite a bit more than $4.8 million. So that's kind of where we're at. And like I said, we did do the due diligence at the request of the city with the environmental review and the structural review. And I'll answer any questions if you have them.
Would it be possible to salvage any of the bricks and maybe we could use those as a walkway or something, or maybe some citizens want their name engraved?
Yes.
We can do that to commemorate it, if somebody
Yes.
felt the need
Yes.
to do so.
Yes. And, you know, and again, you know, that would be part of a demolition contract. We would just have to write into the scope that they stockpile the bricks that they take down so that we could salvage them.
You know, it's been a long time ago, he was probably still here. When we done the walkway over where the little pond was, where Brian was, we done the bricks where they could put their name in it and put them out there.
Yes.
Where was those bricks from? Was those just new bricks?
They were new bricks.
Oh, okay. I was just curious.
Yes.
Because I remember doing it, but I don't remember where the bricks was from.
We can incorporate some of those, and that will commemorate the Redbird building.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd just like to say something, so clearly nobody up here, wanted to second that motion, but I just want it to be stated, so if it were to be made historic, then it would free up money that wouldn't be there right now. Also, if there's asbestos and things, then why are we allowing the Girl Scouts to go in there every week, and why are we allowing voting? And then, we could also, there's other things you can do, like you can always remove the second floor and have tall cathedral ceilings if that's a problem. So, I mean, obviously nobody up here wanted to second it, but I just wanted that to be out there too, because I know there's a lot of people that really wanted to fight for that red brick building.
Just as an those buildings all have big marble cornerstones, and I've mentioned that 2 or 3 times. That's the best way to take a piece of that building and incorporate it. But I just didn't know if you did that.
Thank you for that.
All of them. All right.
Thank you.
The next one?
Yes, is the next one, let me see. The next I have on here, is squashing the $25 million City Hall demolition rebuild. So everything that I'm going to say now is gonna be under the precedence that before I arrived here, because I've only been on commission for 2 months, that the former commission had really wanted to push forward and demolish this building. So basically the entire area here is the City Hall complex, this building, the Red Brick building, the senior center, police department. I think I got all of it there. And then, so demolishing it and then rebuilding a City Hall. So everything that is gonna be here is gonna be just research and things that I found that have to do with that. And it's all gonna be, as far as what I've been told, it basically would be on the backs of residents, and it would be an 18-month project that would possibly, would definitely displace all the municipalities that are already short-staffed. So what I have here, because I'd like this to be voted on as well, moving forward with the new City Hall $25 million demolition project and rebuilding at the same location, in my opinion, would only benefit a few people, mostly the staff, which is 21 people or under. And that's at an exceptionally large cost, and I don't think that's the best interest of most of the residents. This is not a responsible use of the residents' money, especially with over half of the city in poor condition already. The $25 million, as has been explained to me, was to be raised by increasing their water bills and things that have to do, what's the terminology? It's utilities, things like that.
It'll be the general fund.
Okay, but also it would be the residents, things would go up for them, fees. If the city wants to raise $25 million, it should be used to benefit the majority of the residents first by fixing the parks, landscaping, upgrading the technology to communicate with residents, like electronic information sign or community outreach programs, training for staff and customer service, helping people fix their code violations, repairing roadways and streets, installing more stop signs in neighborhoods, adding more parks for community events, soliciting more business to come here, and hiring another code officer, starting a human resources department, hiring a receptionist, hiring a grant writer, hiring a parks and rec director, and with the sudden growth of the city, either more departments can be created listed above, or we can start smaller and hire one person to handle the overflow like an assistant to the city manager position. We need to spend money on things that the city needs for its growth. The projected City Hall rebuild plans to demolish the old red brick schoolhouse, which until this point I thought maybe there were people that wanted to save it, and demolish the current City Hall complex with that now houses the police station and library as well. Construction would be at least 18 months, displacing the staff, negatively affecting the day-to-day operations of the city. Moving the staff to a temporary location for 18 months would cost even more money and place unnecessary burdens on the staff from every municipality. This would not promote good mental health. I promote that the city hall be moved to one of the current buildings. So because of the 25 million that they already want to do, that means they obviously want to do better than what they have. What I propose is that if you're going to move and want to do something different, I propose that the city be moved to one of the current buildings that are for sale in the center of US 17, along with moving the library and the police department so they all can receive their own buildings along the 17 corridor. Moving all three important departments from their current shared space in City Hall into their own buildings in the center of the city would grant those municipalities a new upgraded location close by, making them more visible and accessible for all the residents. It's not responsible, in my opinion, or wise to displace our police department, City Hall, and library for 18 months and they can all be given their own new locations if we're going to be spending money, and moved from where they are currently into their own locations as they become ready. Because all city municipalities are important, there must be a quick transition with no interruption in citywide services. This can only happen if each department moves into a fully finished location. After all departments are settled into their new location, then repurposing of the original City Hall complex can begin. Forcing the residents to pay the $25 million to demolish a beloved city building and rebuild on the same ground without taking a citywide poll or survey or asking the residents what they even want, in my opinion, is not ethical. New building construction should include residents' input. The current City Hall does not have a lobby or a reception desk or even a human resources department, and offers no handicap ramp in the front entrance for customers. And the residents. This can all be offered if City Hall is moved into a building that has more functional space nearby. Moving these three municipalities, City Hall, Police, and Library, to current buildings on 17 would grant the staff and residents full accessibility to enter every room and department with no stairs to climb. Purchasing three smaller locations along 17 corridor would help fix the ongoing problem of vacant buildings and businesses in our city. Humbling ourselves by canceling the $25 million City Hall rebuild and moving into the center of the city would help beautify and revitalize the area, showing the residents that we want to lead by example and are willing to make changes that benefit the residents. I propose that the City Hall complex not be torn down, but instead be deemed a historic site as well, because it also has been there over 30 years. It too was a schoolhouse for decades, just like the Red Brick Schoolhouse. The current City Hall can be deemed a historic site and eligible for grant money. The current City Hall complex can be repurposed as a community recreational center for all residents to use. The building can be reconfigured inside to accommodate a large rec room, including a stage. This could be the new senior center, offering more space, and can host an after-school care program possibly in the future, and maybe even a city summer camp. This large recreational room can be rented out for events. We can keep the structural bones, the outside of the current City Hall, and repurpose the inside. It's a generous sized building and the residents should be able to enjoy it. Moving the library to the center of 17 to a location like the current Pancake House Cafe gas station location, not necessarily the building, which is for sale, also has both indoor and outdoor space that can provide more ways for scholastic outreach, such as book fairs, art shows, arts and crafts, story time, and would make the library much more visible and accessible to the public since we'd be in the center of all of traffic. Some residents walk up to pay their water bill at the current City Hall complex, so we can keep the payment box in its current location to be accommodating for those people. A weight room gym can also be created inside the current City Center, Senior Center building location behind the current City Hall. So the Senior Center could become a gym for the city. We don't have any places to work out. This would provide a way for residents to exercise. The city's motto is growing with people in mind. So if we're going to honor this, then we need to be responsible and respectful. Remember that it's all about what's in the best interest of all the residents, and it's not about our personal preferences, politics, or popularity. Offering camps, after-school programs, a weight room, a city museum, rental rooms are all new ways to generate income for the city and to be able to handle its future growth. We can keep the two most, well, not two anymore. So we could possibly now keep one of the most recognizable cities, or recognizable buildings, which is the current City Hall complex, and honor the architecture and time and history to which they represent purpose, and to repurpose the inside for current and future residents. We can do the right thing for the community if we're willing to embrace the change and make smart decisions with the budget by raising money, spending money, and applying for grants that would benefit everyone who lives and works in the city, and not just for a few people. So I make the motion to vote that we squash the $25 million City Hall demolition rebuild. It's all getting on the record, so I'm good.
To start with, on your city hall, where you're wanting to put the city hall, the parking you've got for these folks, this is a small town. We've got grandparents here, parents here. Our children's rode up here. Do you want them backing out into Highway 17 with all the new growth coming in? And if we start buying every commercial building in Eagle Lake to put all this stuff that you're saving, you're taking away from the tax base. Where are you gonna come up with the money?
So the places that I put on here.
Every
things that have
place that
been-
you've got on here is absolutely ridiculous.
So that would be your
Excuse
opinion,
me, but it's ridiculous.
in your opinion.
How many people is gonna let their children cross Highway 17
Why would
to pay
children,
a water bill?
why would children be paying a water bill? Why would they need to be going into City Hall? It's not a play place. The
They
play
have to
place,
go pay the water bill.
not children, not children.
Tiffany Griffith, utility clerk. We do have parents that do send their kids in. We have elderly that walk. We don't accept cash payments in the drop box either. So all cash payments have to be brought in. We have a lot of senior citizens, when they come to the senior center, they do come in and pay their water bills, which are cash or a credit card. Most older people don't know how to, no offense, sorry, don't know how to acquire about paying their bills online with a credit card. So most of them do come in and rely on me and Sammy to help with payments. Ooh, sorry. But there are kids that do come in. And also the library on 17, kids do walk in without parents and go into the library and do the crafts and stuff that Kristen's been putting on. Sorry, I'm gonna get water, but that's what I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you. So what I was gonna say was that, so what you were saying about kids are gonna get into traffic, that doesn't seem to be a problem when they go in and out of Blackburns, which is on 17.
Usually when kids go to Blackburns, we're with the parents.
But the parents are driving them as well, and there's parking all three sides as well, and there's also parenting, you just have to tell your child not to run into the
I
traffic, just
sent
like.
my kids, when they were small and living at home, they came and paid our water bill.
So you park, and then they go into the building, and they get back in the car.
No, they walk their little cans down here, pay the water bill and walk back home.
Okay, but if they don't wanna do that, there's also the building that remains, and they stick.
Well, there's a lot of people that's not that privileged.
Okay, so it's not a lot, it's a few, and that's my point, is that we shouldn't make a $25 million demand on the residents for just a handful of people who might not like it.
Okay, what you got next?
So, and just so you know, there was pictures and research and everything of all the proposed buildings. Everything is there. It's also on the website of everything that I had put up. The new police department.
We don't have a police department, we got a sheriff's department.
So the sheriff's department, so instead of them being crammed into just a room, give them more dignity and have an own building where they can be right next to the fire department. They can actually be in the center where they're easily accessible to both sides of the community. And also, the area that I propose that's for sale has a huge fenced-in area, which would be great for all of the facility vehicles and police vehicles and all
But
of
you're
that.
still taking them off the tax roll.
But nobody's buying those properties, so that's what I'm saying, is they've been sitting there for a while, and I was just, so it is simply what I am saying from my research, that you guys are already wanting to spend $25 million that would possibly only benefit 21 employees. And it would displace all of the municipalities. So I'm saying, if we're gonna spend any money, let's do it to clean up the center, to put our buildings out there where we can beautify and not let them just be like empty the way that they are. And that's all that I'm saying. So, I mean, you can hit them down and you can say the kids are gonna be killed going into the street. I mean, you can reach as far as you wanna reach. What I put here is actually
Well, I've
pretty
got
thought out.
grandkids in this town, and I absolutely care about them.
Okay, well,
And
I have a
do not
10-year-old
want my
sitting back
kids
there.
crossing the darn highway.
Okay, well, mine knows not to run out into the traffic no matter how busy the highway is.
We've got one headlight, Eagle Lake. One.
Okay, well, my proposal brings the kids into a rec center that's safe over here. All my ideas, like Goggle Ball, is about bringing them over here. My idea isn't bringing the kids to the center of US 17, but that's what you're kind of leading everybody to believe, and that's not what it is.
Okay, move on, let's go to your next one.
Mayor, if I may.
Oh, thank you.
Corey Kohler, 758 North Ninth Street. I do have some knowledge around the $25 million facility. That includes demo of the existing facility as well as building a new facility. I can tell you that I have seen the plans and layouts that are there, and they sufficiently and adequately handle all of the needs of the community. So it does include recreational space that is separate and rentable by either residents or for city events, which we aren't able to do today. In addition to that, it takes into account a fairly well-equipped sheriff's office that includes evidence lockers, that includes a temporary holding cell, as well as many of the items that we don't have. It also includes the library space in Keep It Central. One of the main tenets kind of behind that approach was very similar to what the school board is doing right now, which is going through some of their aged infrastructure and buildings and demoing a number of the buildings so that they can modernize and improve not only their footprint and their layout, better use of the space, but also be able to provide better services and better technology to the people who go there. So it's not just the people who work there, but it's also the people who benefit from the services of the library, of the city, of the agencies that they deal with, and having it in a central location is a much better approach. Commissioner Freeze, I'm sure you're familiar with from the sheriff's office when they moved HR and crime scene and all the other areas out to where they're at on Tim King today. So just wanted to make sure that I pointed those elements out. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
So I made the motion, for the 25.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question about that subject? Thank you. Appreciate it.
There's two new commissioners on the board. I was just wondering if you guys were supplied with what Mr. Corey mentioned about the plans for the new city hall and everything that he mentioned. Were you guys given that information, or any commissioners given that information?
I have the plans, and the plans are for the whole community.
Okay. How was that shared to you?
I came to city hall and gave them.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Your motion died for lack of a second. Go to your next one.
Okay. So I'm not sure about last meeting, about the Gaga Ball pit. So I'll just read, I guess I'll just read about it on here, because I know you were saying you might look into it. Okay. So the dilapidated tetherball court in the front of the current City Hall Park can be revitalized as a Gaga Ball pit. Gaga Ball is an easy, fun game that only requires a kickball and at least 2 players inside of the octagon arena. Many children play Gaga Ball at camp, church, and at school. They're very familiar with this game. Gaga Ball helps to support a healthy, active lifestyle, quick thinking movements, helps improve mental and physical health. The structure of this game inspires kids and adults who play it to use logic, critical thinking skills, teamwork, strategy, and develop character while winning and losing. A wooden 10-foot octagon pit will cost around $500 in supplies to build or to hire someone to construct it. The bigger the octagon frame, the more people can play. The current tetherball ground can be fixed and pressure washed, placing the Gaga Ball frame on top of it, or the concrete tetherball court bricks can be taken up and repurposed for the city to use somewhere. Gaga Ball can be played in mulch, dirt, grass, or concrete. Replace the moldy, unsafe wooden benches around the tetherball area for waiting players. The red floor bricks currently around the tetherball area can be repurposed along Lake McClellan boat ramp on the roadway on Eagle Avenue where the police cars park, or they can be used to create a welcome to Eagle Lake sign for people to see as they drive in to Eagle Lake on Eagle Lake Loop Road by Squires Grove to match the city's other 2 brick signs. Children and families playing outside together relieves stress and promotes overall health. Many families use this park daily, and adding a Gaga Ball pit would be something the residents would enjoy, in my opinion. So I make a motion to vote on that.
You have to educate half of us to know what Gaga Ball is.
So I just explained, but also I have the picture.
I've seen the picture. All I can see is just a little square.
Okay, well, you guys all got a copy of this a few days ago, so you could have researched it, and I talked about it at the last meeting too.
Well, seriously, I've never seen it and never heard of it until you brought it up.
A month ago, okay, so that's fine.
I mean, we just don't know what it is here.
Okay, so I've done my best to explain exactly what it is and that it's a very popular game with kids that wouldn't be that expensive and add on to the park.
No, it wouldn't, it would be pretty cheap. All right, next.
So the next that I have is the Lake McLeod wooden floating dock. So the original wooden dock was destroyed 20 years ago during the Charlie Francis Gene hurricanes. Many people utilize this boat ramp and fish off of the metal beams daily, standing on it. Giving people a safe platform to fish from is important. The cost of this type of floating dock, because it would be wooden, is around $1,000. As the water levels rise and fall, the dock will rise and fall with it. A dock will help expedite loading and unloading people and items efficiently without holding up the line of waiting boats and the coming is dock short and against the boat ramp beam will help deter people from diving off or from a boat driving into it by accident. Permits and a structural engineering plan would need to be done to ensure safety. The residents would enjoy a dock at this boat ramp where there currently is not one at Lake McLeod. So I make the motion to vote on a wooden floating dock off the side left beam of the boat ramp.
That sounds good.
Heather, what would the liability be if they do use it to jump on?
It would be no different than it would be for any other of the public areas of Eagle Lake.
We had for a long time, the position was that Lake McLeod boat ramp was not to be used for swimming. And I noticed that more and more people are gathering there and swimming in the waters, which my concern is that boaters trying to get their boats out of the water could potentially strike one of the kids. So my question is, if we put the dock there, how do you protect the city from any kind of liability?
Oh, you're asking me that? Well, there would be the opportunity to put up appropriate signage, but you also have to keep in mind that young children don't necessarily all know how to read. But it would be really no different than, and if there's a known dangerous condition, the city is going to be responsible to make sure that those conditions.
What kind of insurance will we have?
It would be something that we need to talk to our insurance carrier about. We do have liability insurance already, but those are just things that we need to take into consideration with any type of public place, especially places that children are at. And we do have insurance that covers the city, but the other aspect is just because we have insurance doesn't mean we want to have a condition that's dangerous because we're covered or something does happen. We still want to make sure it's safe.
It's a small area to turn it into something other than a boat ramp. That's what I look at. It's such a small area, even for people that are fishing and bringing their boats in and out. There's not a lot of parking there, so that's my concern.
It is a boat ramp, and I busted my ass putting my boat in on that original rail
It's a
thing.
boat ramp. I'm talking about using it as a park now and turning it into something.
No, it's a boat ramp.
swimming. That's the question that I have.
Not gonna comment on whether it's appropriate to put a dock there or not, but I would, there's two points. If you're going to do it, you have the property farther to the east. That used to be the tennis courts, I would say, from a liability standpoint, boat ramp standpoint. If you're gonna build a dock, build it farther to the east, away from the boat ramp. The second issue is you do have a parking issue there. There's not a lot of parking. The third thing is more of a how do you get there issue. No matter what you do, building a boat ramp on Lake McLeod is gonna require a permit, what they call Waters of the U.S. permit. And as of about 2.5 months ago, all permitting for that program has been stopped by a federal judge in the state of Florida with no end in sight of when it's ever going to be restarted. So I would say if you did want to do this, it's not something that's going to happen anytime soon. I mean, we may be looking at a year to 15 months before all of the litigation up to the Supreme Court is done and this is resolved. And at this point, the basis of the litigation was some environmental groups thought the state of Florida was being too permissive in the permitting, challenged it, the judges agreed with them, so now DEP can't do that permitting, and Army Corps of Engineers just said we're not going to. So everything involving that kind of permitting is pretty well dead in the water at this point for an extended period of time. So, I mean, it's not necessarily that it's a bad idea, I just want to caution you, it's not something if you decided to do it, it's gonna happen in the next 3 to 6 months. It's not gonna happen.
Steve, I have a quick question for you, if you don't mind, Mayor. My recollection, years ago, when we did the litigation to get the tennis court taken care of, and now ultimately property is now in the hands of the city, my recollection was that that former tennis court property might be incorporated somehow into the stormwater drainage plan or design plans.
Not right now, so
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I didn't know.
We just finished the stormwater project there, but it's on the boat ramp side of that parcel.
Okay.
So it's done, and that has been resolved.
Okay, next.
The last thing is just an update about getting sidewalks off the back of Lake Region to connect the roads. I have Eagle Avenue and Starling Road desperately need sidewalks for Lake Region students and residents that travel on them. The last time that I know that people were out looking at that was years ago, and that was before all of the new communities popped up recently. A lot of those kids, because that's the back of the school where the parking lot is, so not only do you have the funneling in and out twice a day of cars that from the students, but then the kids that are the walkers and bike riders all have to go in and out of that gate. The school's been there 29 years with students entering and exiting down those roads. And I think safety should be the #1 priority. And I know the city needs sidewalks on those to connect to the ones. So just an update. I know you had reached out, but it's the last time they were here wasn't recent. It was years ago beforehand.
Tom's got your answer.
Yes, yeah, I just I spoke to the county about it, because I said last month I was reach out to them about it. They basically, I talked to Jay Jarvis, and also Bill Skelton, and they said the Sidewalk Advisory Committee approved the sidewalk class within Eagle Lake. Both projects were halted because they could not secure short segment length easements from single property owners along the frontage. So the property owners will not grant easements to the county. They approved in 2122 Eagle Lake Loop Road, the Starling Road to 12 for $98,000, and also Squires Grove to Rifle Range in the amount of $170,000. So the county is looking at sidewalks within the city, but property owners along those stretches aren't willing to grant easements to them. Like Commissioner Pita said, Starling Road was presented to the advisory committee on December 3rd, 2019, and is cycled out of further consideration due to scoring and voting at 90. They scored by policy, which only with that. The estimate now is $115,000. He said he will present that again at their meeting, I believe, it's August. And I indicated that we would submit, we would support their request. So the county is currently evaluating it. They're going to have to go back to those same property owners and try to secure easements in an effort to put those sidewalks in. So it is on the county's radar. It's just getting people to cooperate. And that's outlined in my report as well.
All right. New business. Consideration of resolution R-24-07.
Mayor, this is resolution R-24-07. This is a resolution endorsing the membership apportionment plan for the Polk Transportation Planning Organization and authorizing the chairman/mayor to execute an amended interlocal agreement. And that is all.
I'll make that a motion.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Item B, consideration of joint project agreement between Polk County and the city of Eagle Lake for the Northwest Juanita Drainage Improvement Project.
Just as an overview, as you know, the Green Acres area is outside the city limits. However, we have a Green Acres water plant there, and our water lines are there. Currently, the lines themselves are located within the ditches, and every time the county goes out there and cleans the ditches, they break the lines. And as part of this agreement, the county will take our water lines, relocate them to the middle of the road, so we should eliminate that problem, as well as we get line breakages out there. So it's a win-win for the city, and that the county's doing it, and that we need to approve order to move forward with that project.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Mayor, can we get public comment on this, and the last one as well? We didn't get public comment
What, on the,
on the agreement.
you want public comment? Yes, no, I'm looking at you.
Audience.
Anybody want to comment on the project between Polk County and Eagle Lake? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
2024-25 budget.
This is typically what we do every year. I put together our thoughts. We do not have the ad valorem numbers from the county yet. We don't have the estimates from the state for the revenue. We're just looking at the budget, and we've also got some issues coming up with Winter Haven. They're doing an emergency interconnect with us. They're doing the interconnect. We just need to purchase the pump. Steve's working on prices on that for us as well. But these are kind of our thoughts as what moving forward, with the budget. And we'll talk about it more in detail at the July meeting. So I just want to give you a month to take a look at it. Any questions you have, you want to sit down and just give me a shout.
Sounds good. Consent agenda. Item A, approval of the regular council commission meetings for 5/6/24. Approval of the financials. Approval of the bad debt list. Approval for the ranches of Lake McLeod final plat.
And the bad debt list changed from 6/29/17 to 1/70/73.
On the bad debt?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. It has to be, we got anything to say. Okay, y'all hear it? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Miss City Attorney, it's on you.
Okay. All right, well, Mayor and members of the commission and members of the audience, last month, May the 6th, the commission requested my office to give a brief overview of certain aspects of local government, particularly ones that affect Eagle Lake. There's a whole lot that I could go over, but what I decided to do is just pare it down and just discuss some of the main issues that I've seen in my time working with the city. Just a lot of the things that do come up on a more regular basis. So I do want to be very clear that this overview, I'm going to try to keep it brief. There is about a 2-page outline that should be on the dais in front of each of your seats, and then Dawn also made a copy of the city charter for you all as well. This is not intended to replace any formal training that is available to commissioners. This discussion is simply to be a very brief and general overview of certain aspects of local government. So I'm going to discuss a little bit about home rule, how the city charter operates, the charter officials, mayor, city manager, commissioner, other charter officials, and just a brief overview of sunshine law, public records, and ethics. Now, again, there is plenty of formal training that is available through the Florida League of Cities and other agencies, and I do believe actually tomorrow in Haines City there is the 4-hour ethics training course, at least one of the courses. I think there's podcasts and other availability, but there is an in-person in Haines City tomorrow. So to begin, I wanted to just go over generally the concept of home rule and how it affects the city. So in right place in my notes. So the proposition of municipal home rule came about via new state constitution in 1968, and we hear about we hear home rule discussed often in the legislature. Just home rule is really a big deal. Prior to the change in the constitution, municipalities can only do things that it was clearly authorized by the legislature to do. So when the Home Rule constitutional change was added to the Florida Constitution in 1968, it was a major shift because now a municipality is able to do anything that it is not prohibited from doing, as opposed to having to have express authorization. Now a city is able to do anything that it is not expressly prohibited or otherwise provided by law, actually. So I'll just read out Article 8, Section 2B of the Florida Constitution. This one is the one from 1968, effective 1969. Municipalities shall have governmental, corporate, and proprietary powers to enable them to conduct municipal government, perform municipal functions, and render municipal services, and may exercise any power for municipal purposes except as otherwise provided by law. There is a statutory counterpart in the Florida statutes to the constitutional provision, and instead of the phrase except as otherwise provided by law, the statute states except when expressly prohibited by law, which is actually even broader. It bolsters the source of home rule authority for local governments. Now, municipalities in the state of Florida, there are a few different types of government formats that are generally accepted. There is not one that is prescribed that has to be a certain format, but in all Florida cities, there is a form. In Eagle Lake, the form of government is generally considered the commissioner/manager form of government. So in every Florida city, members of the commission are elected by the voters. But since municipalities are free to adopt any of the basic municipal government forms, in the city of Eagle Lake, the electors adopted the commissioner-manager form of government. And in this form of government, the commission appoints a city manager who serves as a strong and non-political executive office and acts as the centerpiece of the municipal government. The commissioner-manager form of government is generally described as following a basic organizational structure of a corporation, where the voters act as the stockholders. They elect the commission, and the commission is essentially, if it was a corporation, it'd be the board of directors. Then the commission, the board of directors, in turn appoints the CEO, which is the city manager, and that person serves as the executive function of the local government. So the city manager, the commission manager form of government is generally viewed as a way to remove politics out of municipal administration. The manager is expected to abstain from any and all political involvement, and at the same time, commission members or other political leaders are expected to refrain from interfering in administrative matters. These include personnel matters, which is really the thing that I would most often see if there's ever sometimes a little bit of an overlap. Some city charters provide that interference in administrative matters by an elected official is grounds for removal from office. Now, the Eagle Lake Charter does not have a provision of that nature, but that's not uncommon to see in other municipal charters. The city charter can really be compared to the Constitution. The only way that comes into place is by, or gets amended, is by vote of the electors. There are very few exceptions to that rule. No municipal government in Florida may exist without a charter. The charter, which you all have in front of you, and it's available online as well through MediCode and probably plenty of other resources, it is simply the basic provisions for the organization of city government. It's intended to be concise and workable and give you a legal framework for the municipal government and present a clear picture of the commission's powers and responsibilities. The charter contains details that are of great importance that cannot simply be changed by ordinance of the city commission. So as I said a minute ago, changes to the charter, generally speaking, with very few exceptions, require a vote of the electors via a charter referendum. I believe the last charter referendum since, I think, the 70s was a referendum where the clerk was moved from being under the city manager.
That was probably done in 2008 or 2009.
Right, prior to that, though, I think that was 1978. So there's been one, to my knowledge, there's been one municipal charter referendum in the last 40-ish years in the city of Eagle Lake. So the charter, as you can tell, the charter is actually a fairly brief document as opposed to the code books, which are quite a bit more voluminous. The charter does not need to contain an exhaustive list of the municipality's powers, but it must prescribe the form of government and clearly define the responsibility for the legislation, legislative and executive functions. Subjects of less importance should not be in the charter because it should be easier for the commission to make necessary changes via ordinance or resolution. The charter details the key charter officers of the city, and I will go into a little bit of detail about these. The mayor is listed in the charter as a charter officer, and the role of the mayor in the city commission manager form of government is to be the ceremonial head of the municipality. The mayor presides over commission meetings and may serve as a spokesperson for the city. The mayor has little, if any, role in day-to-day municipal administration. You all have the charter in front of you. I'm just going to read a portion of the charter regarding the mayor. It says, the mayor shall preside at meetings of the commission and shall be recognized as the head of city government for all ceremonial purposes, by the governor for purposes of military law, for service of process, execution of contracts, deeds, and other documents, and as the city official designated to represent the city in all agreements with other governmental entities, but shall have no administrative duties except as required to carry out the responsibilities herein. The charter describes, let's see here. Bear with me a moment. The charter does not have a specific section detailing commissioners, but the elected body, commissioners and the appointed mayor are responsible for the policy-making function of city government. And this is typically accomplished via the approval of ordinances and resolutions by the commission. Eagle Lake commissioners also serve as members of the Eagle Lake Community Redevelopment Agency as an auxiliary duty. In the commission manager form of government, there is a separation of legislative and executive powers. The legislative authority is vested in the city commission, which then appoints the city manager to serve as the chief administrator. Again, the city manager is a non-political role. He or she supervises staff and is generally responsible to carry out the legislative directives of the commission. Now, it's also important to remember, again, the commissioners and the mayor are not to interfere with day-to-day operations of the city. Members of the commission may make inquiries and communicate with the city manager, but cannot give directions individually to staff members. With regard to interference with administration, there is a provision in the city charter, and this is not the entire provision, but just a relevant part. Says, except for the purpose of inquiries and investigations, the commission or its members shall deal directly with city officers and employees who are subject to the direction and supervision of the manager solely through the manager. And neither the commission nor its members shall give orders to any such officer or employee, either publicly or privately. And then going down a little bit further, there's another provision that says, it is the express intent of this charter, however, that recommendations for improvement in city government operations by individual commission members be made to and through the city manager, so that the manager may coordinate efforts of all city departments to achieve the greatest possible savings through the most efficient and sound means available. Another provision in the city charter dealing with the commission, as well as the office of mayor, deals with interaction with other local government agencies, and the charter does have a provision that states that individual members of the commission may not contact other government agencies. This is a paraphrase, to request action related to the city by that governmental agency without the express prior authorization of the commission. This does not prohibit individual members of the commission from asking questions or researching matters related to other governmental agencies to obtain information to assist the commission in the formulation of sound policies to be considered by the commission. But it's the express intent of the charter that requests for action from other governmental agencies, officers, or employees relating to the city shall only be made through the commission or at the direction of the commissioner. The charter details for the city manager state the role of the city manager, essentially as the CEO of the city, is to supervise and coordinate the city departments, the appointment and removal of staff, preparation of the budget for the commission, for commission's consideration, make reports and recommendations to the city commission. All department heads report to the city manager. All department heads report to the city manager, other than the clerk. In the city of Eagle Lake, exceptions are the city clerk and my office with the city attorney, who are appointed by and serve at the pleasure of the commission. The charter provides that I don't want to be repetitive, bear with me for a moment. The city manager appoints, suspends, and removes all city employees, directs and supervises the administration of departments, sees that all laws, provisions of the charter, and acts of the commission are faithfully executed, and prepares and submits an annual budget for adoption by the commission. It also has some other duties as well, but those are the biggies. The role of the city clerk is also set out in the charter. Like the city manager, the clerk is responsible to take and transcribe. Like the city manager, the clerk serves at the pleasure of the commission. Clerk's responsibility is to take and transcribe minutes of the commission meetings. Is responsible for most, if not all, official records of the city. Additional duties as assigned by charter or ordinance of the commission. In the city of Eagle Lake and many other cities, the clerk also serves as a supervisor of elections for the city. The office of the city attorney in the charter states that the city attorney is general legal counsel for the city. City attorney may be full-time or part-time, or a contract consultant on an as-needed basis. In my case, we've been on a contract basis for many years. And the several attorneys prior to me, I believe, were the same. The charter provides that at the request of the governing body or designated staff members, the attorney renders legal opinion on legal issues affecting the city. The attorney gives legal counsel on drafting and implementation of ordinances and resolutions, and to keep staff informed of new laws and judicial opinions that could affect the city. City attorney may also represent the city in court, although many cities employ other outside counsel to handle outside litigation. I do want to note that my office has historically not been authorized to perform research or prepare ordinances at the direction of an individual commissioner. Typically, I begin substantial research into particular matters and draft any appropriate legislation upon receiving a directive from the commission as a whole during meetings. It's been practiced in the city that when it's necessary for individual commissioners to contact me to ask questions or as needed, that we strive to be as brief as possible, because the city attorney is not a regular employee like many of the other experts the city employs, like the city engineers. Services are billed on a as they're done basis, so we try to remain within budget. There's sometimes that discretion is required. There's times that Tom contacts me and there's something that just has to be done because there's not enough time to wait for the next commission meeting. And there's times I'll bring you things that just as a matter of law need to be brought in front of you as well. But I do use discretion when it comes to those matters, depending on the circumstances. And generally, I would confer with the city manager and get approval before beginning on the proposition without having the consensus of the commission beforehand. We do, as a city, have certain boards and advisory committees. A municipality has the power to create boards and advisory committees. They serve an important function in providing expertise in certain areas of municipal concern. They may be made up of citizens to deal with issues and problems the city commission deems worthy of special consideration. In Eagle Lake, the city commission does appoint members of the commission to serve as liaisons in various boards. Some of them are governmental boards like the TPO or the Regional Water Cooperative. Others are non-governmental boards like the Sports Association. With the TPO and the PRWC, some of those are in a voting capacity for agreements. Ultimately, they do come before the city commission for city commission approval. For non-governmental boards, the commission liaison is not a voting member of those boards. It has no oversight authority. The intent is to be a go-to for issues and communication between the board and the city commission. So we've covered not all of the charter, but just some of the relevant provisions of the charter that affect you. So I'm going to move into, very briefly, I'm going to talk about the Sunshine Law and requirements for open meetings. So city commissioners and appointed advisory board members. This is, I'm being very general. This is, I want the commission to be aware of these things, and I know most of you already are. There are some commissioners that have been here for a long time, some are new, but I want to just, if there's additional questions, please contact me and let me know. But sunshine laws were added to the Florida Constitution in 1976. It requires that any meetings between two or more public officials that are on the same board take place at a meeting that is, number one, properly noticed, number two, open to the public, and number three, minutes must be taken. So commissioners or board members that are subject to sunshine law may not discuss any item upon which action by their board might potentially be taken. It was a very, very broad requirement, and I conservatively have always advised that if in doubt, to err on the side of caution. It's best practice to not discuss any city business with another commissioner. It may not be on the agenda next month, but it may be something that comes up in a year. So generally speaking, it's best to stay away from those issues if the subject matter could foreseeably come up before the board for consideration at some point. Violation of this law does carry criminal implications. There are requirements for open meetings, and also since 1967, most government business is required to be conducted in the sunshine. That's in an open public manner. The sunshine law requires meetings of an agency, the city government, to be open. No resolution, rule, or formal action shall be considered binding except as taken in an open meeting that satisfies the requirements of Florida statutes. A public officer who knowingly violates any provision of the open meeting requirement is guilty of a second-degree misdemeanor. There is a requirement for advance notice that requires reasonable notice to be given before every meeting. There are various acceptable methods to provide notice for commission meetings and certain types of actions like zoning, certain zoning actions, when it comes to allocating federal funds and certain grant funding, charter amendments and annexations. There is specific statutory requirements for notice, but generally speaking, notices are done on websites. They can be done in local newspapers or posting at local offices, City Hall, for instance, but we do have to make sure that the notice requirements are met before the meetings are held. There is no legally prescribed agenda for commission meetings. Many municipalities allow a section for consent agenda. These items are considered routine business, and they rarely need discussion time in a meeting. Examples of consented items include approval of minutes, payment of bills, renewal of leases, minor proclamations, and resolution. The consent agenda can be approved and generally is done in the city of Eagle Lake in one comprehensive motion. Items can be removed from the consent agenda if the commissioner does feel that they require additional discussion. Every commissioner does have a statutory and as well as a charter requirement to vote on every proposition in front of the commissioner, except for if you have a stated voting conflict. The Florida statutes, chapter 112 is the code of ethics, and it is, there's a whole lot of ethics laws enumerated in the statute, but I'm not going to cover all of those. I'm just going to go over a couple of the ones that I see come up more frequently. The commission is prohibited to solicit or accept gifts. Statute provides no public officer may solicit or accept anything of value. This is not word for word, but may not accept anything of value based on the understanding that the vote or official action or judgment of the officer could be influenced thereby. There's another prohibition on accepting compensation to influence a vote. No public officer shall accept any compensation, payment, or thing of value when the person knows or with reasonable care should know it was given to influence a vote or other action. Prohibition on misuse of public position. This is kind of a catch-all, but it provides a public officer, employee, or local government attorney shall not corruptly use or attempt to use one's official position or any property or resource which may be within one's trust to or perform official duties to secure a privilege, benefit, or exception. There are quite a few individual other prohibitions that are enumerated, and I'm not going to go into detail about all of those. But the big one that is probably the most common thing that comes up is the requirement to abstain from voting. And this states that a municipal officer shall not vote in an official capacity upon any measure which would affect his or her special private gain or loss when he or she knows that this would affect the special gain or any of themselves or any principal by whom the officer is retained. So that's the statute that generally comes up when we deal with voting conflicts. And what I always say with a voting conflict, if any commissioner ever feels that this is something that might affect them in a positive way or a negative way, in any different degree that it would the community as a whole, if there's ever any doubt, please contact me prior to the meeting at which the vote is taken, because we can go over the details. And sometimes there's gray areas, and because we have, number one, we've got a statutory requirement for commissioners to vote on everything unless there's a conflict, but then there's also prohibition on voting if there's a conflict. So if there's a gray area, please always contact me, and we'll hash out all the details and make sure that you're covered. And in the event that there is a voting conflict, then at the meeting, you must state on the record during the meeting the nature of the conflict, and then there's also a form that Don will have for you that needs to be filed within 15 days of the date of the vote. But Don usually would have those available for you to fill out during the meeting. Another requirement for commissioners, which we are all very well aware and are participating in litigation, is the requirement to file a statement of financial interest no later than July 1st of each year. I don't think any commissioners have an issue with stating their financial interest, but with the changes to the law recently, they've become a bit more cumbersome. And so there's several commissioners throughout the state have left their positions of office due to the complications that have arisen from that. Let's see here. So any alleged violations of the Code of Ethics are investigated by the Florida Commission on Ethics. Violations of standards and requirements of the Code of Ethics by a public officer shall constitute malfeasance, misfeasance, or neglect of duty within the meaning of the Constitution and may be subject to appropriate criminal penalties under state law. There is also the requirement that came up in 2014 for elected municipal officials to do 4 hours annually of Florida Ethics, Public Records, and Public Meetings Law. And this is not intended to be a replacement for that. The last thing I'm going to cover is Public Records Law. And as you are all very well aware, Florida has a very, very broad Public Records Law. All state, county, and municipal records shall be open for personal inspections and copying by any person. The legislature has enacted requirements that public records be made available for public inspection, be kept in usable condition, be kept in safe places, be kept in convenient places, and provide copying of records at reasonable costs. Generally speaking, the city clerk is the custodian of public records. Public records law, the important thing to realize and to remember is that public records laws apply to any material that is prepared in connection with official agency business, which is intended to perpetually communicate or formalize knowledge of some type. And this is regardless of the medium. If we have it on an audio tape, if it does any of those things, it's a public record. If it's a text message, it could be a public record if it meets those criteria. It's very important for elected officials to understand that when they use their private devices, especially text messages and email communications, if it's dealing with city business at all, it is very likely to constitute a public record. And so I typically discourage and caution when using personal devices for doing city business for this reason. It's more difficult for the city clerk to ensure that the public records are being maintained in compliance with state law. Typically, if it's a city email, the emails are going to be captured by the software that we have through our IT company. But if it's on a private device, we don't have any way to ensure that those records are not disappearing. So in the event that any commissioner is concerned that you might have public records on any private devices, typically that would be emails or text messages. Always get in contact with Dawn to make sure that you can get those appropriately transferred over to her for proper maintenance and safekeeping. So that is the end of any of the substantive information that I was going to review. And so again, this was just intended to be a very, very basic, to go over a few of the issues that are important to the city of Eagle Lake. There are a whole lot more detailed resources available. In fact, the 4-hour training course tomorrow in King City. But if you have any questions, just contact Tom, Dawn, or myself as needed, and we can get you your questions answered or make sure you get your hands on more information. And that is all that I had.
Okay. Randy.
Good.
Randy. Hey, I like that. Randy.
Yes, I do have some items that are new to be voted on either today or next month. So the first thing for voting next month is I propose that we do a dog park at the Eagle Lake Boat Ramp. You already have most of it fenced off. The city owns the land just to the right of the bathroom, and I think that would be a great place to offer as a dog park for the community. So that's something I'll put together, and then I'll read, have pictures and research, and for voting for discussion and voting for next month. Another thing is I'd like to, for next month, I'll bring in research again and pictures I propose a pickleball at the old skate park. I think that that's a sport that's played by all generations. Are you familiar? You're familiar with pickleball? It's like,
oh yeah.
Okay.
It's a really dumb, just a little dumb.
Well, that's a more. I'm saying that. So I'm not saying that. I'm saying that like Gaga ball, it's a more. I wasn't aware.
That's from South Florida. So.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying is I just want to make sure you were clear on that. But yeah, because I wasn't even aware of exactly what that was until a few years ago. So I just want to make sure because it's like Gaga ball where it's kind of a new thing, but it's popular. Also, I'd like so that would be something a discussion and voting for next month. Also, I propose that we do a neighborhood cleanup down Eagle Ave with the residents and led by the commission. That's something I'd like to actually vote on today and make a motion to do that we organize that in the next few weeks, few months, that we lead that charge and we go and we offer litter clippers and have garbage bags and offer a corridor cleanup, start letting the public see us out there as a commission, even though there's never been a workshop where we've ever been introduced or anything, and that sort of thing, and we're only allowed to talk to each other really about city things here, so it's kind of an apprehensive environment when you've never been introduced, or there's no workshop going on, so this is our only time really together. So I think that would be a good thing to be able to do, where we all go out there, we do a cleanup of the neighborhood. That would be something that the guys that we're offering about code enforcement, we can let them know that they can come do maybe bulk stuff. We can just offer that. So that's something I'd like to make a motion to kind of lead that charge with the city as the face doing that.
Well, you got one problem. They won't but two of you that's be going. I don't think the three of us, I know Randy can't do it. I know that Randy can't do it. Randy can't do no walking and that stuff. I can.
Maybe he can be the distribution of the garbage bags and maybe like vests, so he could be a part of it, just not like the walking part. So we can find things to get everybody involved.
You could set it City Hall in that garbage bags.
So I make a motion for something like that.
We do have an Eagle Lake cleanup day, but it's not where we go out and do things for the public. But we do have a cleanup day. But I mean, if you can get some volunteers, I think it would be great.
Well, we could advertise it on the city Facebook page and get an initiative going. We already have a couple of people that said that they would, do it. I'm sure our communities would do it. I'm sure local businesses. Hopefully Tom will be out there doing it. And that way it would be like community outreach. So again, I make a first motion.
Well, I'll second that. I'll go for that. If you just got to find your volunteer.
Yeah, I can send like the information, like even if you want to give out like, Amazon, you can get like, 20 neon vests for $33, and you could even do that for safety so that everybody's safe. I mean, it's not a very expensive thing, but it would be able to show people by example, like when they see their neighbor cleaning up and you see the whole corridor, it also lets people know that we're doing something. I also get to see our faces. Two of us are new, our pictures are nowhere on the website. It's still the old commission picture on Facebook. So this would let people know who we are as people for the residents.
Can I just get a clarification exactly on your motion, because I missed the location of it?
So it would be a neighborhood cleanup down the corridor of Eagle Ave.
Just Eagle Avenue?
I would say for now, just because it's quite a walk, but it would just be, just within, I would say, from 17, so Eagle Ave, the 17 corridor, so we're not crossing the street there, and then maybe going, all the way up to the new community, and just kind of the older community, and, everything else is brand new and that's maintained by those communities.
Which direction?
Each direction, so we would start on one end, sorry, my notes here, we would start on the end on 17 at the light, and then we would just walk down the front here, right in front of this building. And we
Down
would-
to where y'all live?
not that far, not as far as Grover Dairy, because that's the newer section, but maybe to like Starling, like the back of Lake Region, that one road there where there's like that memorial for that kid, and just kind of that, and if you wanted to, we could do it where it's like, it's an all-day thing, but like half of us go in the morning and the other half go in the afternoon, and people can come at a specific time, but it would be more important that the city would see that we're, you could have some men just walking along with edgers and edging the road as we go, because that hasn't been done in forever. I'm just saying it would be a good thing for the face of the commission to be able to go and be out there talking to the people.
I believe we could probably get a lot of the materials she's talking about, trash bags, vests from Katie, and keep more beautiful. So it wouldn't be a big expense to us. I know that Katie organizes citywide cleanups all the time every year. We held one last year. Out here we had 5 roll-offs put out on 3rd Street. We had 5 people take advantage of it. So, but a lot of the materials and stuff to use could be gotten from Keep Hope down too.
We'll put you on the spot when you talk about this. We got prisoners lined up to do it the week before the July 4th thing, to do all of the curb and sidewalk. Now. So you know, we got a thing in place with prisoners to do the curb and sidewalk.
Maybe we could do another street. Are they doing the entire city or just that one area?
No, probably just equal. We won't have them 6 or 7. By the time you edge everything, scrape the dirt up, put it in the track, we probably won't get done until maybe you go out there.
So you're saying that's already being taken care of? So
Yeah, me and Carl kind of work a deal out to get the prisoners for the day to clean the sidewalk. I think you're talking more trash, right? Not necessarily.
Yeah, or even the residents can contact and say like, hey, I've got all this junk in front of my house, I just don't have the paint.
I didn't want you to be thinking about the curb and sidewalk, because we already got a prisoner thing lined up to do that. Just use your time.
Yeah.
Else or whatever.
Really, you're not gonna have much to do down in Eagle Avenue. But you put it on the agenda, John, put it down. Go ahead, put it on.
A motion was made and seconded, ma'am.
No. Huh? Got a motion and a second, I did that, I second that. All those in favor, say aye.
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 So how many is that?
Failed for, what do you call it?
Pardon me?
You were just looking at all along, any nays? Well, you gotta say yay or nay.
Nay! Yes, you got that.
I doubt that. You're the deciding.
If she wants to have a clean, I'm not fine with that.
Okay,
Is it 4-1 or 3-2?
it's 3-2.
They ain't seen my face, I made my leg.
Hush, you're giving that garbage bags.
Okay, the next thing that's a quick vote is that, I've seen other cities do it, I think it's a really great idea, is I think each month the commissioners can go and award with a sign for their property the most beautiful yard and business, like a ICU, like, because people like to be appreciated. I know there's a lot of yards that look beautiful, and I think that would be a good thing if you go up and you say, I think you're doing a great job with your house, and they get that sign for a month, and it would be awarded by each of the commissioners so that we wouldn't have to agree. It would just be you picked one and you picked one, and then it sits in their front yard, and they know that we see them as a commission and that we appreciate all that they have done and
I don't think the city ought to get involved in that, we've done that one time. And it was a mess. Start with, the city commission got accused of being partial to certain people and didn't like certain people, and so we backed out of that completely.
Okay,
And it just caused too much conflict.
okay.
If there was an outside source besides the commission doing it, that would be okay. But
Okay.
as a commissioner, I wouldn't do it.
Okay, I'd like, to make the motion that on the utility bills, that we could start advertising the date of the commission meetings. I saw that they did that with the patriotic event, I thought that's a great idea, that when you print it out, you have the next month's, commission meeting in time, so it reminds people that we're here to come out and wanna hear their voice. So I thought,
Can I interrupt, because, I see Ms. Griffith down there. We can do that on certain bills, but there are certain bills that we have requirements that have to be placed on it, and we only have a certain number of characters that are allowed to be put on the bills.
okay,
So we would not be able to put that on every single bill. I just want you guys to know that up front, because we have requirements for elections. We have requirements if we're gonna raise utility rates, we have to do certain things, and we just don't have, unlimited space. So on the months that we don't have a bill, we would be easily able to put that on there, correct?
The month I don't have anything, yes, I can put it on there.
I'm sorry.
okay. So we vote that if it's possible, each month that it's available, that we could do that to start getting the word out about commission meetings.
I don't think the motion is necessary for that. I mean, I think the staff can take care of that without problem.
Great.
Look, we posted it.
I post at the post office, I post on City Hall
City Hall.
board, and I post on the City Commission, building. I did have Sandy put on Facebook that we were having a meeting tonight, so it got posted on Facebook, and it's always posted on our webpage.
Well, if it gets on Facebook, it'll get gone. It's catch on fire.
Okay, that's it.
Take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, all those in favor say aye. Darn, I didn't open the water.
Okay.